The Australian Ultimate League is only possible thanks to the generous support of our major partners. Bendigo Private Banking Services. Visit their website bendigoprivate.com.au to help you manage all your personal or business banking needs. Discraft. The leaders in flying discs for over 25 years. Their Ultrastar is the preferred disc of all World Championship events and the Australian Ultimate League. And Zone Ultimate Custom Sports Apparel. Check out their new range of custom warm-up jackets and pants at zoneultimate.com.
Welcome to the Australian Ultimate League. My name is Lena Hall and I'm here with Max Benstrom, looking forward to a fantastic game between Perth Power and the Melbourne Flames. We're gearing up in the league, we're in round 5. Everything's pretty exciting right now and we're looking forward to seeing these matchups. Max, tell us a little bit about the two teams.
Well, both teams full of talent, no doubt about that. Melbourne Flames especially star-studded lineup, plenty of international experience, lots of impact players, big throwers, big receivers. Perth, on the other hand, a whole team full of all-rounders, jack-of-all-trades kind of players. It's two contrasting styles between the two teams. It'll be really interesting to see whether that poses some match-up challenges for Melbourne. There's not one clear thrower and one clear receiver on the Perth line. Everyone's capable of everything.
And Max, with this 6-on-6 format and the gender equitable nature of this league, 3 men, 3 women on field at the same time, as always, it'll be really interesting to see how the two teams adjust to the way each play that style.
Oh, it'll be very interesting to see. They're obviously in round 5 now, so they've had a bit of time to try it. And we'll hear from their coaches now.
All right, I'm joined by B, coach of the Perth Power. Coming up in your game against the Melbourne Flames, obviously a very impressive looking outfit Melbourne are. How do you go about winning this game?
I think for us, we really don't want to rely on just the one-to-one matchup, so we want to really quickly come together and work as a team for our defensive strategies and for our O as well. So really trying to move away from just looking at it as an on-paper one-to-one matchup.
And the Perth Power, you've got a great core of people from Perth, but then you've also picked up some people from interstate. How's the team gelling in the lead up to this tournament and as this tournament progresses? How's the team getting along and working on their connections?
Yeah, we really asked from the players that everyone really invest a really quick leap of faith. So we talked about trusting straight away your teammates and really communicating more than we're used to. So that was something we sort of talked about and practiced straight away, and something that we'll need to do really quickly in this game as well. Excellent.
Well, it sounds like a great team to be part of. Good luck in your game against Melbourne.
Thank you very much.
I'm here with Anna, coach of the Melbourne Flames. Hey, you're playing the Perth Power in your next matchup. They've got some pretty handy players. Tell us about it. Who are you trying to match up on and who are you trying to shut down?
Yeah, I think their girls will want to have a good look at them and will want to shut down, Emily Atoni. Coached her for Barramundis before. She's a very handy player, super quick and a really unbelievable receiver. So we'll look to shut her down for sure. They've also got Beck. No, is it Beck? Yes. On there as well. Just strong females, I think, on that team, like strong body, strong female players on that team that we'll look to shut down, and some very handy men on that, like some more all-rounder men, like not so much that big one-role impact player. They seem to have all-rounder, handy, strong men on that team as well.
Absolutely, they're not one-dimensional by any means.
Yeah.
And Anna, you've coached the Aussies to a silver medal at the World Games. You're now coaching the Melbourne Flames, obviously a very high standard. How does this compare to coaching the Aussie team?
Yeah, it's actually really similar. It reminds me of it a lot because the game's to 13 in particular as well. You wouldn't think it's that different, but it is. A game to 13, there's no room for ever taking your foot off the pedal. You have to be inside that game the whole time, I find, because it can sneak up on you, that game to 13. So I always think you have to be really careful. And elite teams like this, I find it's I kind of go with high-level philosophies, not heavy detailed structure, because the players are elite, so you can kind of give them freedom under high structure to do what they do best. So yeah, it reminds me a lot of it.
Fantastic. Well, you've got a great list, and we look forward to watching you do your thing against Perth. Beautiful. All the best.
Welcome back as the teams prepare before the first point of this match. It's really interesting to hear from Anna Rigaki there talk about the high-level philosophy, which is what she as a coach provides to this team, recognising that with this kind of talent in her roster, she doesn't need to get down into the nitty-gritty.
Absolutely. I mean, Anna is one of the most experienced coaches in Australian Ultimate at the moment, and fantastic that she sees the parallel between, coaching World Games team and coaching this AUL Melbourne team. And I think, as you say, really interesting saying you've got elite players. You can just give them a big picture. You don't need to get bogged down in that nitty-gritty because they all know how to play Ultimate.
That's right. They know how to run, they know how to catch, they know how to throw. She doesn't need to be teaching the Seb Bars and the Cat Phillips of the world how to do those little details. She's there to provide that structure and keep everyone on the same page. So I guess also shows a degree of respect for their intellect and their ability and their understanding of the game, which is really cool to see.
Absolutely. But interesting that still flies when you've got a team that hasn't played much together, as both with the Melbourne Flames and Perth Power coming together for this tournament. But again, at that elite level, players gel really quickly, and so we're in round 5, as you say. It's going to be great to see how these teams consolidate.
So Perth will kick off this match on defence. It is a bit of a breezy day as you see the wind ripple across the jerseys of the players, and we'll see how that plays out and who is best able to adapt to the tricky conditions. Melbourne will start on offence, and it'll be big Tom Rigaki who will field that pull, and he'll take it from the sideline and look to move things quickly. Melbourne not short on throwing power and skill, and we'll see whether that proves to be a decisive factor in this match in these tricky conditions, as that one gets caught with the wind underneath it and sails over the head. Rosa Wang's pass a little errant. Calaviotis looks to go quickly to the end zone. High release backhand. And Monty Mazerai has to have 2 goes at it, but he does get there in the end.
Just holding on to that with his fingertips on that second go, and Calaviotis looking to move it quickly. High release backhand, it got there in the end.
And that's a break right out of the gates for Perth. There's no better way to start this match than a break on the first point, and that's exactly what a team like Perth needs against Melbourne. No doubt coming into this match, Melbourne top of the table, they'd be the favourites for this game. Perth showing they're not intimidated by that at all and coming out strong and putting their mark on this match.
Yeah, interesting how Sarah Brereton, coach of the Perth Power side, was talking about playing Team D and Team O, that they're not relying on those one-to-one connections necessarily. Everyone's getting involved and they're looking to play through that roster. And that's going to be really important in conditions like this. Everyone needs to step up and get involved, because otherwise it's a lot of pressure on 1 or 2 people.
And we saw them do exactly that. Their great defence on the cutters downfield, and then on the handlers, forcing a tricky pass from Rosa Wang into the wind, and the wind got underneath it. She just gave it a little too much front edge, and the turnover came from that. Barr with the disc will get offence going for Melbourne. He shoots long. He's got Ashcroft underneath it. Bella C in the region. So's Ely. And that's going to sail well beyond his intended target. There's a 2-on-1 underneath it at the first contest, and Perth will be happy with that. And I'll get the turnover. In these kind of conditions, do you think it's possible that Melbourne's already opting for some kind of a Huck and D look, a very aggressive style?
Look, it would make sense to do so, really. It's going to be about gaining ground in these conditions. It's not pleasant to play ultimate in. It'll really challenge both sides.
As Davies' backhand immediately goes a little high and out the sideline. As you say, even the best throwers struggling to complete in these conditions. Barr will pick up the disc about 10 metres out, though he is on the sideline immediately. Goes to the end zone to Evans, and that's a quick goal from Melbourne. Almost as quick as Perth's first as well. The difference being this is an offensive hold for Melbourne. Evans just beating Osborne to that front cone.
And that's almost exactly the same spot that Mazurai scored in the point before. We'll probably be seeing a lot of play up that side of the field, considering the wind conditions. And it's going to be really hard for offence teams to move it down the field, really, with these conditions at the moment. You can really see that the breeze is blowing strong.
Lockie Wise will take on the pulling duties. Not easy pulling from this end into the teeth of the wind. We'll see how he's able to do so. He does have his distinctive pulling style, the high right knee to get things moving, as we'll get a look at that in a moment, I'm sure. And we'll have a look to see as well if Perth adopt Melbourne's offensive strategy of playing aggressive early and shooting, or whether they try and work the unders a little bit more, as we've seen them do earlier in this tournament, especially in their previous round against Adelaide. They did very well moving it quickly and small distances.
Yeah, a lot of short ball playing in that match, so it'll be interesting to see whether they can do that again.
So far it looks like they will. Calabiotis sends back to Shepherd. Shepherd back to Calabiotis. And back to Shepherd. Those two behind the disc, anchoring the play for Perth, leaving plenty of space upfield for their cutters. Mazurai has to bobble and gets it straight back to Shepherd.
And that was another defensive block by Della, who has had some amazing blocks this tournament. Mazurai doing really well to hold on to that, and then quick play for the goal, taking Perth up to 2-1.
And that kind of quick movement is what we've come to expect from this Perth outfit. So good at just bouncing the disc around, waiting for the easy passes. As the coaches recognise, they're not relying on one person to do all the heavy lifting, and that makes them a real challenge to slow down from the Melbourne perspective. They're obviously making a big play, but Perth up to the challenge and able to capitalise.
Some really nice throws actually in that point, recognising the need to get down low and so that the disc will just sit. But some really good use of angles as well, not afraid to try and use the full width of the field, which is important in these conditions, that you don't get pushed just into one sideline.
Davey will send the pull down the other end of the field, both teams struggling to get it much further than the brick mark. And Perth look like they're coming down in a bit of a zone defensive look. Barr and Prentice will play that handler role, with Phillips coming back to help now for Melbourne. And she has to go to ground to hold on, but she does well.
Do we have spares?
Centres back to Barr. Marked by DeLuca. DeLuca, Davey and Daub providing a bit of a cup around the disc. Then we've got two players behind that, and Osborne and Ely playing in wing positions. Quite an aggressive zone. Generally speaking, in the AUL, we've seen teams often opt for more containment, more conservative zones. But I guess these tricky wing conditions give them the opportunity. And Osborne sticks out the big left hand and gets a block there. Ely looked to get things going quickly, struggling to find something, has to go back to C. She goes up that far sideline. Davey with the disc. Osborne shoots. Players underneath it. DeLuca's there in the region, but she can't hold on. Neither can Daub, who was there as well. And that's Ashcroft.
Perth's put the zone back on. Melbourne able to get it through the middle pretty quickly, but Perth's re-establishing it here, and that's a turnover.
Just a wayward pass. You can see the wind really causing a lot of trouble for these throwers. Just struggling to complete what would generally be regulation passes for players of this calibre. Davey, forehand up line. You see how much that turns over. It bounces in and out of the hands of Bella C. She can't hold on. Very tough win now.
Perth opting to keep that zone, going to try and hold it on the sideline here. Barr managing to get it out to...
That's Ashcroft, who then finds Barr again in the centre. He'll come near side to Wang. They're about 10 metres out. But every metre feels like a mile in conditions like these. Ashcroft, he's 2 metres out. He's got Barr going up line, doesn't want the pass. He goes the inside backhand across field. That's ambitious. Evans underneath it, but Osborne does well. And gets the block. That's a very tricky throw in these kind of conditions. It's tricky at the best of times. Maybe a little bit ambitious, considering how much trouble everyone's having at the moment completing regulation passes. Ashcroft instead opts for the inside backhand across the field over the stack.
Look, the pass sat up for a while and Perth did well to get a defensive player underneath it to put the pressure on.
Ely has C in front, but instead he shoots long for Osborne, and Osborne gets 2 hands on it, and it goes to turf. Clearly it's not just throwing, but catching as well that's difficult in these kind of conditions. The disc liable to make late bobbles and changes in direction, and you see Prentice drop one.
Really uncharacteristic there.
And also in a crucial field position. Going upwind, so difficult. You feel like upwind goals will be rare as hen's teeth this game, and this is a prime opportunity for Perth to snatch one. DeLuca. DeLuca goes back to Davey. He's 2 metres out. He's on the doorstep. He's got Ely, and that's an upwind goal for Perth.
Perth really just consolidating there. They were looking really solid, had to keep working, looking for the give-go. Done a great job there, and then Ely just cutting to that open side, and a lovely goal from Perth.
All of a sudden, Perth, the underdog going into this match, not only do they break on the first point of this game, they then hold their offense and then score an upwinder. Crucial in a game such as this. And they're now in a prime position to take another one going back downwind. And Shepherd surely will unleash a massive pull and provide them with a great opportunity to do so.
The wind's picked up, the rain's kicking in now. Basically, everyone just needs to keep focused. You can't be distracted by the weather, despite the awfulness of it and despite it making it so much harder to play quality ultimate. You just need to focus on the basics.
You do, and it really becomes a test of your grit and your endurance and your toughness. It's not about your silky skills anymore. It's about your willingness to get in a dogfight. You know there's going to be lots of turns. It's inevitable. It's going to be scrappy, and it'll just come down to your willingness and ability to grind through it. Ashcroft and Wise playing catch at the back. They go high side. It'll be crucial to see whether they can keep the disc up there. Wise comes back to Barr in the centre. Perth sticking with this aggressive cup zone formation at the front. Tony on the mark. Back to Prentice. To Wise. It finds his way to Phillips. Melbourne moving well in these tricky conditions. Wise. They're now about 12 metres out. The rain really picking up. Disc slippery and greasy. Could be difficult to catch and throw. But so far, they're up to the task. Wise to Ashcroft. Doing well to work with their legs, Melbourne. Provide easy passes and easy options, not asking a lot of their throwers, knowing that in these conditions, it's unlikely to come. Barr to Wise. 30 centimetres from goal. He's got players all around him. Back to Barr. Does he hold on? Yes, he does. There's a little one to Wise. Wise dishes again to Phillips. Phillips back to Wise. Just a couple of inches away from the goal. High release backhand across field. And just too far for Prentice. The wind pushing that one away.
Look, kudos to Melbourne Flames there. That was impressive offence play.
Calaviotis now with the disc. Yep. And he shoots long. Well over the head of Bellassi. And into the path of Shepherd. Somehow. Bobbles and gets lucky. And he'll get the quick flip to Tony for the score. All that hard work from Melbourne. Grinding upfield. Little passes. Lots of leg work. And in the end, Perth get lucky. 2-pass offense. In the end, big huck, bobbles out of the hands of C, caught by Shepherd, and the easy backhand to Tony.
Goodness gracious. I mean, well done to Perth for capitalising on that, making sure Tony coming, screeching down the field to be there and get into that space. And Max, I just want to comment on the Perth defence as well. Tony and Murray Young doing great work in that zone, the front of the zone there, marking up on the thrower, really, really active, and then getting in the space of that upfield pass as well. So the two women doing a great job and being really dynamic and making it difficult in these conditions for the throwers to use the space that they want to.
It was a real team effort. They're putting a lot of pressure on Melbourne that whole point. Not immediately getting their rewards, but force them to play under pressure the whole way up the field, and the turnover will come eventually. Melbourne now will play some offense going back downwind. Phillips with the disc. And she shoots immediately, not wanting to waste any time. Backhand very fast and flat. Beyond the grasp of Tom Regaki. Does seem like that's the option heading downwind, though. Preferred option of both teams. Get the disc down there, force the other team to try and play upwind offense and hope for a short field turn to take advantage of it. Davey will have the difficult task of bringing the disc in on coffin corner, really. The downwind sideline at the downwind end of the field in the corner, marked by bar. It's not where you want to be when you've got the disc in hand, really. And he goes hammer over the top. Players forming underneath it. Osborne gets two hands. He hangs his head in disappointment, literally on the doorstep, and Phillips will find Regaki for the quick flip. As you can see consistently, it's not about which team plays the best, cleanest defence or offence. It's about capitalising on the opposition's mistakes.
And that just bobbling out of Osborne's hands, unfortunately. And once again, we've had a turnover just outside of the end zone, and the opposition being able to capitalise.
And in conditions like these, when really no one's able to reliably play offence a full 60, 70 metres, those short field turns, they're crucial at the best of times, become doubly so in this kind of game.
And in that case, it was Cat Phillips picking it up and looking to play straight away, like looking for that option. Is that something that you think in these conditions, when you're in that position, you just want to get it done rather than setting up and, waiting for the rest of your teammates?
That was clearly her approach there, but it's interesting because coming into this match, Phillips has been catching a whole lot of goals for Melbourne, but hasn't necessarily been throwing a lot. And you saw her there flip the script, pick it up, throw the goal herself. Obviously, we all know she's an incredibly capable thrower, but her role with this team has predominantly been catching the goals rather than throwing them. So it's interesting to see them flip that script there, maybe keep it unpredictable as Perth look to go express to Tony. Regaki mentioned in her interview at the start of this match that Tony would be one to watch out for and one to try and shut down, and she's doing a lot of work this game.
Yeah, and specifically in that role of receiver as well. She's really, really quick, but generally reads the disc very well. Conditions like these are going to make it trickier. The disc will bobble at the last minute just when you think you've got your eyes on it, but great position, and there was no one near her.
Melbourne will go the other way. So that's Dignam. Really does seem like the long shot is just impossible going this way. But Wise hears me and tries to prove me wrong. Big backhand, it's going to sit up. He's got Tony underneath it and Shepherd. Teller's behind, but Shepherd does well. Shepherd, a real premier deep receiver. You know he's going to do well under the high ball, despite giving up maybe an inch or two to the taller Della. He'll march it back up, and he'll shoot straight back the other way. Blady forehand, outside in. Well beyond the reach of Mazurai. It turns over in the wind, but it will continue to roll all the way deep into the end zone.
Just making it as hard as possible there.
And they'll make Melbourne take it the full 70 yards again. Perth saying they don't want to mess around with it down the other end of the field. Don't want to risk that short field turn. Get the disc down the other end and play some defence. Wise and Egan Griffiths at the back. Albie Evans, one of the draft picks for Melbourne, sharing those duties behind the disc. Perth with 4 or 5 in that short field space, really feeling like that deep shot is unlikely to come. Able to put heaps of players and heaps of pressure around the frisbee. Melbourne doing well, continue to grind and work it up the field slowly. Willing to give up ground to maintain possession. Egan Griffiths to Evans. Looks a little pop back, won't come, goes to Wise instead. Looks like he wants the big swing, gesturing to his teammates. Another pick call. Will be discussed briefly. Despite the differences in the number of players on the field and the score cap, all the other rules stay the same, except for just a couple of very small variations to marking infractions. And for anyone familiar with traditional ultimate, it'll look the same. Players still making the calls and resolving themselves on field. Rosa Wang now 2 metres out, goes back to Egan Griffiths. Melbourne doing well to keep the disc alive, keep their possession alive, and try and get this upwinder back. Wise tries to hop it in, but can't quite get there. He's got Evans open side, doesn't want it. Sneaks one into Egan Griffiths right at her shoelaces. And that's a goal. That's an upwinder for Melbourne.
Well done to Melbourne. They had Perth players swarming all around there, really not much room to move, and somehow Wise pops that out to Egan Griffiths, who does really, really well to hold on to that, as you say, at her shoelaces. Great goal for Melbourne, and an important one as well.
And that's the upwinder that we talked about. Really important. And that's their response to Perth's earlier upwinder, which will put things back onto serve in terms of upwind, downwind. And Wise looks like he'll stay on the field. Melbourne keeping a lot of the same faces as Egan Griffith stays out there as well. Maybe feeling like this line, this group of players, a little suiting the conditions a little better than their other players. Maybe a little more comfortable in this scrappy dogfighting match. Wise opts for the big outside in pull. It will roll out the sideline of the end zone.
Exactly the same spot as before, and this time another unenviable task, bringing it in that corner.
Melbourne looks like they'll stick with match defence. Backing their athleticism, backing their one-on-one matchups. Feeling like that'll get them the rewards they need. Osborne. Back to Davey, having to concede ground to maintain possession. Perth in their own end zone here. Not where you want to have the disc and not where you want to be having to chip it around and possibly turn it over. Cat Phillips again doesn't want to waste time. Rushes to the disc, picks it up. Goes to Regaki. He bubbles but holds on. He's got Della streaming across but doesn't take it. Wise now at the front corner. Still doesn't want it. Store count rising. Has to pop one over the top, but Wise behind. Cheeky little backhand. And Melbourne all of a sudden have pulled it back to fours.
Perth playing some great match defence there. Managing to keep the pressure on and forcing Regaki to go over the top, which with his height is an advantage for him, but not an easy throw in these conditions. Again, seeing Cat Phillips going straight to the disc, trying to take advantage of that turn that Perth had let in, and Melbourne manages to bring it back 4-4.
They were down 4-1, and they've got 3 quick ones to bring it back to level. There was a moment there where I was all aboard the Perth upset, but it looks like Melbourne reasserting their dominance. Obviously, the game is but young, and there's much more ultimate to be played before this one's written in the history books. But wouldn't it be a story if the underdog from the West Coast managed to come across to AUL Stadium and upset the early favourite? Perth now playing some offence. Shepherd with the disc. He's marked by Ashcroft, the 2 speedsters. Inside backhand. Lovely shot to Murray Young. She'll shoot long. Her big backhand. We've seen that before. And what a grab from Chris Calaviotis. One-handed trailing edge. Have another look at that. All set up by a lovely inside shot to Murray Young. Puts her in a great position for a beautiful throw long. The wind pushes it away, but Calaviotis does well. And credit to Della for the nice bid as well. But Chris Calaviotis, tougher as he's affectionately known,
Great pass by Murray Young there. Sees her player going deep, takes advantage. You can see that the conditions have improved slightly. We've got a little bit less wind. The driving rain has stopped, and the style of play is going to adapt for that. So those long shots, definitely not just to gain ground, but absolutely on, as Calaviotis proves there.
Definitely legitimate scoring opportunities. They're not going to be easy, but when you've got receivers of that kind of quality in Calaviotis and many others on that Perth roster able to make grabs like that, they're genuine scoring threats. And that's a timeout as Perth respond and steady their ship. It's 5-4 up for Perth. I mean, coming into this game, not many would have expected Perth to be leading after 9 points of play. So credit to them.
Yeah, I think that's a fair observation, Max. But, as the coaches were saying at the beginning, they're playing Team O and Team D. And I think that, especially in those conditions early on, that was working really well for them. There was an element of confidence there when they had opportunities. They capitalised and they held on to them. And they did really, really well with that. Melbourne perhaps being a bit surprised, getting down early on. As you say, they were down by 4-1 and not the position they would have thought they'd be in. So maybe a bit of a mental game as well. And after this timeout, we'll see which team manages just to keep the momentum and to make the most of these improving conditions.
And what's more impressive is the fact that Perth is doing it without Alex Gann and Rebecca Brereton, two of their big contributors in earlier matches. Not to say, obviously, they're a team that runs through their whole roster, but those two in particular doing a lot of work contributing to that style that they've developed and become known for, of just chipping it around,
Indeed.
using the width of the field, being comfortable, grinding and resetting the disc.
Yeah. It's been really great to see how these teams have developed and consolidated over the course of this tournament. Really exciting to see.
That's a pull by Davey. Melbourne will get things moving quickly. Egan Griffiths and Barr behind the disc to Regaki. He'll shoot long. Flat forehand. Gets caught with the wind underneath it and it'll sail well out the back. Phillips was in pursuit, but that one well too far.
Regaki just seeing Phillips at the back of the stack there. Thought he'd take the option for it, but that wind just pushing it way too fast.
I did think it was interesting when Anna Regaki, the coach of this team, and Tom Regaki's wife mentioned that this team felt a little bit like the World Game team. Funnily enough, a bunch of these players were on that team as well, so no surprises there as Brendan Ashcroft. Goal line block. Phillips will pick up quickly and finds her teammate for the quick flip. It's her second quick pick up and assist after a great block from Brendan Ashcroft. The inside shot to Ely couldn't complete.
With not only a great block by Ashcroft, but excellent D upfield from the Flames to stop those options coming under. And Ashcroft really just reading the disc well. And again, Phillips picking it up, getting it moving. I'm really loving this style of play from the Flames.
Looking to catch Perth unawares, a little bit unprepared defensively off those quick turns. And they have both times been able to capitalise without much hesitation. Phillips finding Prentice in the end zone there. And that's Phillips' second assist for this game. She's been contributing well for Melbourne in these tricky conditions. As has Wise. We saw him do a lot of work in a previous upwinder and he's playing another upwinder now. We'll see whether that's a conscious choice from this Melbourne coaching staff of Anna Regaki and Chuck Lee to develop a bit of an upwind and downwind line as opposed to an O and a D line, knowing that in these conditions everyone's going to have to play some O and some D. Shepherd moves it sideways to Daub, and that one through the hands of Tony.
Look, a really great option there. Plenty of space that Tony was in, just can't hold on to it.
When you're throwing downwind, the disc does come in quick. Maybe surprise Tony a little bit with the pace. Crossfield. She can't hold on. Dignam will call an injury. She feels like she's hurt her shoulder, clutching her arm as she walks off. We hope she's okay. Made a nice effort to hold on to that disc as it knifed into the turf. And Phillips will come on to replace her. The turnover will stand though. So Perth will have the disc at about midfield. And Calviotis will jog over it. It looked like he might pick it up there for a moment, but Daub will get things started again. Calviotis provides the inside, doesn't want it. Mazurai comes open side, does well. He's marked by Evans. Centres back to Shepherd. Oh, and that one just bobbles beyond the reach of Bella C.
That wind really still playing a part in this game, as you could see the disc just popping up at the last moment.
Seen Shepherd and Mazurai connect well so far for this Perth team. They're two old teammates from the Australian under-20s team many years ago. And their chemistry's still good as Melbourne move it to that high side. I thought Phillips might want to take that shot. Instead, opts to play safe. Back to Wise. He's got Della in the centre if he needs it, but he's still looking upfield. Stalkout must be rising. Comes to the centre. Melbourne really working hard. And Perth doing a great job of taking away their first, second and even third options a lot of the time. Della swings round the back. Has to go over the top for a little dump pass to Lockie Wise. Lachlan Wise shoots long. Big forehand. That'll sit up. Crowd gathers underneath it, but Della, the biggest of the lot, comes down with it. Backhand to Evans. 5 metres out, gets it straight back. He's on the doorstep. Defence is scrambling to get some kind of pressure on. Instead, ends up with a confusing pass to the end zone. I'm dumbfounded. I don't know what he was looking for there, and it doesn't look like many of his teammates were quite sure.
I think that was the stall count is high. I'm going to try and put it into space and hope a teammate does something miraculous.
Definitely looked like a bit of a desperation play as Shepherd shoots a big backhand down the field. And Bella C, 2 full hands on it.
We've seen a lot of that today, people getting both hands on the disc but just not being able to hold on to it as Melbourne turn around and get it going as quick as they can.
That's been typical of their play so far. Della now with the disc. He goes crossfield out in front of Phillips. Can she get there? Lays out. Does she hold on? Yes, she does. That's great effort from Cap Phillips. Maybe that wind providing just enough underneath it to get it to wait up for a Della's shot. Definitely not what he would have liked, but Phillips up to the task.
That is a sensational layout from Kat Phillips. What a game she is having today. That has just been fantastic and classic and really lovely layout form there to bring the score back into Melbourne's favour. Look, some really interesting moments in that point. A few changes of momentum, some really great options, but just Perth not being able to hold on to the disc in the end. And Melbourne, again, just calmly, confidently moving that disc upfield. Perhaps not the pass Della had initially hoped for, but Phillips, in her wonderful style, bringing it down.
In some ways, Della will be feeling like he's a bit redeemed after that earlier kind of end zone fever moment where he threw a pass into the end zone where totally no one was expecting it and no one was there for. As he ends up with the assist for that one. But we see the difficulty of both teams are having in just holding on to the frisbee even when it hits them right on the chest. DeLuca with the disc. Has to go to Osborne. He's marked by Rigaki, the two tall timbers of both teams marking up on one another. Osborne's backhand into the centre of the field to Murray Young. We've seen her shoot the backhand before. We know she's not afraid of it. Instead, she goes up line. Now she shoots the forehand across the stack instead of the centre of the field. That's a nice look. And it's brought down well by Davey. He goes Ely, backhand into the end zone. Tony underneath it, over the top.
Aye.
But it's cleaned up by Rachel DeLuca. I really love that shot from Murray Young. That forehand over the stack. It's not pretty in these conditions, but it works. And in the end, DeLuca comes down with it, and you see the value of backing up your teammates.
Absolutely. That was really good communication there from DeLuca, knowing that she needed to be there for the backup. Look, good effort on D from Rosa Wang there as well. Got in, put some pressure on, but the disc was sailing past. And yeah, DeLuca does a great job to snaffle that to make it 6-all. This is exciting stuff, Max.
It really is, and in these kind of conditions, you saw it just there. What would usually be the moment where in your mind you think, oh, that's the D, that's the turnover, it's missed the target. Anything can happen. It can bobble up for a second opportunity. It'll sail over someone's head into someone else's hands. And as players, they need to adapt and be willing to chase down every pass because you never know where it's going to bubble. You never know where it's going to end up. It might just be on your chest and in your hands if you're putting in the effort to get there. Melbourne will play upwind for an opportunity to take half. Seb Barr finds Alex Prentice on this near side. Rugaki having to work real hard to get open, and he does. It's marked by Mazarai. He'll shoot inside forehand. Look at it turn over in the wind, but he finds his option, finds his target in Prentice, gets back to Rugaki in the centre of the field. He's got plenty of power on his throws, and he'll need all of it to get the disc into the breeze that's really played a big part in this match. Marked well by Mazarai. Heaps of pressure. Rugaki shoots the forehand. It'll sail up. Barr underneath it. Calaviotis underneath it. C underneath it. And no one will come down with it.
Look, Mazarai has done a great job marking Rugaki there in the dump position. Unfortunately, then just let that big pass get off at the end. Had worked really well to stop him getting it behind. Fortunately for Perth, the throw didn't come off, but great defence there.
We'll see Perth's response. So move it quickly to that high side. Find Calaviotis, who drops it onto the turf in front of him, and Rugaki looks to get things done. Senders to Barr. He's got Ian Griffiths and Ashcroft instead. He shoots for Rugaki, floats it high, trusting the 6'5" frame of Tom Rugaki. And can he get it done? Bobbles onto the ground.
In the end, coming to Rugaki's feet rather than sitting up as Barr would have hoped.
I don't mind that as an option in conditions like this, especially recognising that maybe Perth's taller players aren't on the field. Huge bid from Brendan Ashcroft, gets the turn. And Barr looks to move things quickly as Melbourne has all game long. Flick to Rugaki. He shoots down the line to Prentice. And that's an easy goal and the half for Melbourne. Perth caught napping.
That is a really, really lovely D there. Beautifully clean. Read the disc well. Balassi just couldn't run through it. And just enough of a touch to get the D, and Melbourne turn it quickly with Prentice in the end zone. A tricky little grab there. The wind was pushing the disc down. She really had to reach low to hold on with two hands and managed to do it, which was great.
And geez, do we have a game on our hands. But crucially, that was another upwinder from Melbourne, and we'll see what that means to the second half, where they'll come out playing downwind. So likely another point for them and a bit of a lead for the first time for them this game.
Yeah, Anna Rugaki spoke about the fact that with game to 13, there is really no time to switch off. There's no time to nap, to have those little quiet moments that you might sometimes find yourself in. And you can see that here in the last few points. You know, if the D hasn't been on straight away, then both teams have just really punished that. And we've got a scoreline of 7-6 to Melbourne, and it's going to be tight till the end, I think.
It's also worth noting that Ash Martins isn't playing for Perth this game, and she's been a big thrower for them, particularly doing a lot of work behind the disc, and we haven't seen her take the field this match. And we'll see they've adapted pretty well so far, but over the course of a full match, will that unavailability of one of your premier throwers affect them, especially in these tricky conditions where the ability to throw any kind of distance reliably is at a real premium. Max Howden providing some words of wisdom to his troops, to the Power as they prepare for a powerful second half, I'm sure. The Flames, on the other hand, huddled under their cover, trying to stay warm and dry.
They've probably got a little, fire happening under there with some nice warm flames, just keeping the hearth burning at half time, ready to go, fully warmed up into the second half of this match.
No doubt indeed. As Chuck Lee pulls the line for this Melbourne team. Wise, Dignam, Anderson, Della, all on the field, all ready to play some defence for Melbourne.
I'm going to put my money on Dignam being the first one down there off the pool. She is consistently so quick off that pool and puts the pressure on the first pass straight away. It's a real highlight for me, watching her game and how by that one individual move, it just really helps her whole team.
Really sets the tone. Nothing makes you chase a pool harder than watching your teammate stream past you as you try and keep up with them. Perth have a difficult task of playing some upwind offence as Wise shoots a big outside-in backhand. It just lands in and rolls out the sideline, as we've seen so many pools do before. Dignam will mark Murray Young on this near side. That's a crucial matchup. Dignam, as you say, one of the more athletic defenders going around, and Murray Young providing that crucial connecting role for Perth, able to come under, working out of the cutting space, but then provide the next big shot when needed as well.
Absolutely.
It's a rare breed of player that's able to do both the cutting and the throwing, and Murray Young's one of them. Davey instead goes down line, forehand, but it looks like he's thrown it to Wise in the end. Osborne not able to get there, and Melbourne, easy as you like, quick as you like. Wise to Regaki, back to Wise for a quick goal. The throw from Davey, definitely not where he wanted it to go.
Look, Regaki again, so powerful at being able to put that short throw out in front of the player for them to be able to, putting it beyond them, even in the end zone, so they can run onto it, and the defence doesn't even get a look in there. It's such a useful tool to have. Uses his height, but just also that spin on the disc in these conditions to put it exactly where he wanted it to go.
Yeah, and that's not something you learn from 1 or 2 years of throwing, or even 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Tom Regaki's got an absolute wealth of experience. He's been playing at the highest levels for more years than I care to count. And you can see, while for some players on this field, this might be tough conditions, unusual conditions, something they're not used to, he's done it all before. Doesn't bat an eyelid and puts the disc exactly where he wants it.
Melbourne getting that crucial first point in the second half, taking it to 8-6, and Wise pulling yet again.
Looks like Melbourne have kept the same 6 on the field, feeling that was a pretty quick point.
Looking a bit more zoney in their defence here, but Perth managing to get it through the middle.
Murray Young fakes the big backhand. Would love to see it to Luca now in the centre. She comes near side to Calabiotis. He doesn't want the immediate shot. Instead goes across field with a forehand looking for Mazurai. We saw Regaki attempt a similar shot earlier this game, and exactly the same thing happened. The wind gets underneath it, and it sails out the back of the end zone. Very, very tricky to weight that throw correctly to hit your target. Regaki will bring it back in. He's marked by Mazurai. That's been a great matchup for Perth so far. Been able to put a lot of pressure on. Dignam works across the front, providing an open shot, but Wise looks her off. Instead, Wise gets it back again, finds Della underneath. Egan Griffiths open in front of him. Wise clears out, goes round to Egan Griffiths. No, can't get it out. Has to push up line to Regaki. Tightly marked by Mazurai. And that one, I'm not sure if Mazurai got a hand on it, but the pressure was enough and Regaki drops the disc. Perth move quickly. Calviotis back to Shepherd. Mazrai streaming long. Instead goes easy to Murray Young. She fakes the backhand. Puts it out in front of Mazrai. Big layup, great hold! And that's a goal and a massive layup from Mazrai. Manages to stick out the right hand, clutch onto the disc as we get another look at it.
Wow.
Full extension.
Look, I would be taking double happiness if I was Mazrai. Well, he might not have got a finger to that D. The pressure, as you say, was all that was needed, and then manages a beautiful cut in the end zone and a sensational layout grab, full extension. Really add that to your highlight reel.
Spectacular effort from Mazrai. We've seen discs bobble all over the place. People unable to catch it when it hits them full on the chest. Mazrai able to go, as you say, fully horizontal, chest height, and hold on to that one. And he's now got 2 goals and an assist to his name, having a really great game for his team. And while I haven't put it in the stats, he's doing a bulk of work on defence. That one there, almost got a fingertip on, and plenty of great dunk defence, especially on Regatta.
Yeah, absolutely nice.
You can see the winds and the rains really pick back up now as Davies' pull won't quite make it to the brick mark. It'll be picked up by Ashcroft. And he'll shoot backhand very flat and fast. He's looking for Phillips, but it was very low.
Perth seem to have elected to be playing a bit of match D again now. We saw them playing a lot of more zoney D in the first half. They switched it a bit to match, and Melbourne sticking to the match that we've seen from them for most of this game.
Davey centres to Osborne. The bidding Evans won't get there. Ely goes high side to Tony. Davey gets it back. He has DeLuca, instead goes to Osborne. To Davey. He has Bellassi on the near side, instead goes difficult inside shot to Ely. Maybe chose the harder of the 2 options there. Melbourne will get the disc at about midfield. In the hands of Barr as he finds Phillips underneath. Goes to Egan Griffiths just out in front. She gets a fingertip on it, but not enough to haul it in. Davey runs to this, trying to move things quickly before defense can set. He goes around. There's a lovely around backhand. Bit of a technician with his throws. There's Osborne. No pivot backhand across the centre of the field. Ely underneath it has a bid, but Egan Griffiths comes down with it, and we've got a foul call on the throw. Perhaps a pick-up field, actually. And they'll talk about what happened. Osborne. Fakes off DeLuca, fakes off Davey. Goes to the inside shot, and Brendan Ashcroft, ice-cold foot block. Immediately gets it back. He's 2 metres out from the end zone. You can see Osborne's working hard, fired up after getting foot blocked by him. Egan Griffiths goes up line, gets some separation, and Ashcroft delivers the pass. Get another look at the goal in the
Barr
end.
working really hard there, but it's Egan Griffiths in the end who manages just to get that little bit of separation from Tony, just enough for that pass to sit into her hands for another goal. Look, I didn't have a great view on that foot block, but it wasn't going anywhere.
No, that just didn't move an inch. Straight down. Left the hand and straight to the ground. Looks like he'd thrown it into a brick wall. Doesn't get much more emphatic than that.
I get the feeling on offence in that case, Perth was just making their their cuts from a bit too deep. It was quite hard for the handlers to get those passes off. If the players just came a bit closer, might have made it easier. But Melbourne take it to 9-7 with Wise taking the pull again.
Great chase from Della. But Shepherd takes advantage of his momentum going one direction and goes the other. Daub. Goes back to Shepherd. Back to Daub. Oh, and she drops it. You just feel like a few more simple mistakes are creeping into Perth's game than were occurring earlier. And maybe one of the factors behind this 2-point lead that Melbourne has. Prentice finds Wise. He shoots long. He's got Regaki underneath it. It sits nicely. Will he get there? Yes, he will. That's a nice looking shot upwind. A lot of players have struggled with that throw. And Wise puts it on a platter.
But
it looks like it'll come back. I'm not quite sure what the call is. But the disc will return to Wise. You can see Mazrai breathing heavily. He's working hard. Playing some defence on some of Australia's most decorated players. Wise will tap it back in. Open side to Della. He goes to Dignam. Dignam drops the first one, lays out for the second, and Daub looks to move things immediately. Shepherd slows the tempo. A lot of players and not a lot of space on that near side. And it looks like we've got a pick call as things do get congested. Perth need to clean up their offense just a touch. They're operating out of a vertical stack, but a lot of players drifting into that lane. I mean, their defenders get tangled up in the end. Comes back to Daub in the centre. She shoots over the top, recognising Mazrais in space, and so is Calaviotis. And Calaviotis will be the one to take it down.
I'm very glad that one of those players caught that disc. That was a great look from Daub. She saw that she had players with separation there. I'm really glad that they talked about it.
Really quite a visionary throw from Jerry Daub. Not an easy spot on the field to access as a thrower over the other side of the stack in that deep space. She makes it look quite simple in these kind of conditions. Backhand, just a bit of outside in, recognising that Mazrai and Calaviotis had space going in that direction. And they keep it within one. If Perth want to bring this one back, they will have to score upwind.
They're going to be looking to get a mark on really, really quickly to try and stop that quick score downwind from Melbourne. So expect to see some really intense D in this point, and then they'll be hoping that they can convert.
Davey will pull. Been taking a lot of the upwind pulling duties for Perth. Just make it beyond the brick mark. One of the better pulls we've seen in that pass from Phillips. Wayward, and this may be the opportunity we were talking about. Murray Young with the disc in the centre of the field finds its way back to Davey. Davey to DeLuca. They're 8 metres out now. Back to Murray Young. This is the opportunity. You sense it in the air. But if Perth can put this one in, it'll be game on. Osborne coming across the front. He has it now 2 metres out. Tony's at the back, instead goes up to DeLuca, and that's an upwind goal for Perth.
Look, not so much about massive D there, but just a wayward pass from the Melbourne Flames, and Perth doing really, really well to take a breath, take the options. DeLuca scores a beautiful goal there, and we are back.
Perth is definitely back at 9 apiece. So far this game, it had been Melbourne that have been more reliable at taking advantage of the opportunities that Perth gave them. But there we saw Perth be just as ruthless and just as clinical when Melbourne make a silly mistake. The pass not hitting Cat Phillips, not hitting the intended target, and Perth pounced on it, moving it immediately to Murray Young in the centre of the field. And a few short passes later, Osborne found DeLuca up line.
Murray Young doing a great job in that sort of anchoring, as you said, that middle of the field position, you know, where she's often having to just calm things for a moment and taking some great options today.
She's been a great midfielder, if you will. Melbourne move things quickly, trying to get some easy metres before the pull chase is there. Find Prentice to Wang on that high side. She points, directing traffic, telling her cutters where she wants them to go. Has to go down the line in a very tight angle. And it's blocked. Can't quite squeeze that one through to Prentice, and Bellassi will knock that one out of bounds. It's brought back in by Calaviotis. He centres to Mazurai. Calaviotis was coached by Anaragaki at the previous World Championships. I wonder whether he's trying to guess some of her structures or plays that she may be calling from the opposition.
Oh!
And that one pops over the head of Shepherd Willie.
Oh!
Calaviotis comes underneath it and keeps it alive. Bit of discussion, perhaps. Mazurai says down. Look down from the booth, and Rugaki shoots a huge backhand upwind, displaying that raw power we know he has.
That is just too easy for the Melbourne Flames there. Bar quickly picking it up to Rugaki, who says thank you very much. And Wise taking that easy grab on the chest for the goal.
And that's an example of Melbourne being equally clinical and ruthless, taking advantage of the simple mistakes. And the advantage of doing so quickly as well. Shepherd caught a little bit napping there, wasn't in good defensive position on Wise. Had 2 or 3 metres of ground to make up, and while he's quick, so is Lachlan Wise, and he wasn't able to make up the deficit. It was a lovely throw from Rugaki into the wind. Crucially, that's another upwinder from Melbourne. The timeout call is made. Perth done so much work to get their upwinder back. They'll have to get another now, as Melbourne, not comfortably, but they do have a lead.
Remembering that it is game to 13, and so we're getting to the pointy end of the match here. Each team is just, as you mentioned before, really going to be working on that grit, on that intensity, just looking for every option, always heads up, trying to get those, as you said before, those bobbly shots that don't quite go where you think they're going to go. You've got to be awake all the time in a situation like this.
Melbourne not wanting to waste any time, feeling like they've got the momentum, feeling like they're in a good spot. Get their 6 back on the line quickly. It's Prentice, Dignam, Della, Anderson, Ashcroft and Wise. Ready to play some defence. Lots of athleticism, lots of pace, and lots of willingness to get their jerseys dirty. Saw Ashcroft get a great layup block earlier this match. Della's had a couple of attempts. I'm sure there'll be more fireworks.
Weather-wise, we've had 4 seasons in one match, really, in this. We've had driving rain, we've had ridiculous winds. Now we've got some sunshine. Wind's still there, but it's really interesting to see how the teams have to adapt just in the course of one match as well.
Melbourneites often joke about their city providing 4 seasons of weather in one day. It's really happened just over the course of one match in this game. DeLuca centres to Davey. He winds up the backhand, but instead goes short and then shoots down the line to Ely. Ely surveys his options, looking back for Davey. Davey can't provide anything easy, has to go to Murray Young. And that one, not nice out of the hand at all from Ely. He won't be happy with that throw.
Ely having a bit of a quieter match today. He's often a player who will score a lot of goals. That hasn't quite been the case here. As Melbourne move it quickly again on that high sideline.
Huge hammer from Wise, big layup from Della. And he drops the head. Maybe he feels like he should have caught it, but it would have been a heroic play if he did.
Look, he got a hand to it, but as you say, Max, that it would have been incredibly impressive to hold on to that massive hammer.
Without a hint of touch on it either, coming in at 100 miles an hour. Shot like a cannon from the arm of Lockie Wise. Davey, inside forehand across field to Murray Young. but too far out in front as it turns over in the wind. Ashcroft. Centres to Wise, to Prentice. Prentice to Dignam. Is she in? Yes, she is. Her pace and athleticism make it easy for her. Doesn't have to do anything fancy. Runs in a straight line, faster than the other person. She'll get open. Prentice only too happy to provide the disc.
That is a lovely throw from Prentice. She just takes a moment, sets it up, and that throw just cuts through the wind straight into the hands of Dignam.
And those two Ellipsis teammates, Firetails teammates and Crocs teammates, they've done it all together, connecting well, their chemistry showing itself there very well.
Yeah.
And like that, Melbourne consolidate their previous upwind break with getting the downwinder as well. As is often the case in upwind-downwind games, if you get the upwind break, you're able to get another break immediately following it. And if Perth want to get back in this match, they'll have to get a pair of breaks of their own.
Be interesting to see if Perth goes back to that kind of that quick short pass play that they have drawn on a lot. Haven't seen it quite as much this game, but they might need to go back to basics to get this one.
Mazurai fields it to Calabiotis and gets it straight back. Goes to C. C has Murray Young. Finds her. Now things start to dry up downfield. Not a lot there. She shoots over the top for Mazurai, but it drops short and into the hands of Wise. It was a nice looking option. Looked good from here. The space was there, but the throw wasn't quite. And Regaki shoots back the other way, but that'll sail well out of bounds. And Shepherd will bring it back in.
Just a bit of discussion of exactly where that throw went out, been resolved, and Perth looking to get it moving.
Wang looking to poach off and get involved, get in the lane a little bit. Calabiotis now. Inside shot, just beyond the reach of Wang, finds C. She has Murray Young, so she goes crossfield to the high side to Shepherd. I like that as an option. Mazurai working hard to go up line. C back in the centre, so's Calabiotis. Takes Calabiotis' pass, and the next one to C. Fakes the inside shot, instead goes open side. Mazurai!
Oh!
You sense if he managed to hold that might have been a goal. His back foot was down. But he can't quite grasp it. Maybe thinking about his feet already.
Look, Melbourne putting a lot of defensive pressure on upfield there. It was getting really hard for Perth to get a throw out. Not a bad option into that space, but Mazurai just not being able to hold on.
Mazurai will mark Wise. Wise immediately goes central, as does Regaki. Bobbles out of the hands of Della, and that's the short field turn. Calabiotis picks it up quickly, looks to get things done to Tony as it pops up and over. Definitely not the throw that he wanted, but it was the receiver that he wanted. And Perth take it back within one as they capitalise quickly on a short field turn.
Look, that is a great read by Tony there. She had to fully turn her body and managed to get her eyes back on the disc again that was dropping quickly and get both hands on it to make sure of that goal. Really good read from her.
Great awareness, and at the end of the day, it's a high IQ play from her. It shows her experience. So, we're within one, and you sense that if they can't get this upwinder, it may be too late. Will they put on what they feel is a more powerful line, or they'll stick to their standard? Got Davey, Osborne, Daub. Some of the usual suspects out there for Perth, ready to play some defence. C, Ely, DeLuca. Looks like their standard upwind line that they've been running most of the match. Maybe C coming across from Murray Young, we've seen a bit of. And Barr's pass to Ashcroft behind him and into the ground. Barr not having a great game, by his standards at least. DeLuca picks it up, goes down the line, to Daub. Davey having to work hard to provide a dump. Now he does. Now goes central to Osborne. Working it well down that far side to Ely. They're about 6 metres out. This is the opportunity. This is the moment where Perth can retake control of this match. Davey having to work so hard to provide a dump, but he does. He's marked by Barr, 2 Australian Dingo teammates. Ely on Ashcroft, another 2 Dingoes as they match up. Davey breaks the mark around, backhand to Osborne, and that's an upwinder from Perth, and that's 11-all. Game to 13.
And Perth's teammates stream onto the field after that goal. Look, great composure from Perth Power there. They had to work. Melbourne had some excellent defence again upfield. Osborne just managing to get past his defence and to score on that sideline. Really well done to Perth to just stay calm and not get that end zone fever and bring it back to 11-all.
And not only is it 11-all, but they're now playing downwind. If the game stays on serve from here or on downwind serve, Perth will take it. The ball is in Melbourne's court to take back this match. If Melbourne want to win, they have to score upwind again.
Yeah, look, as you said before, Perth, you would have thought, were the underdogs, but this match, they've really stepped it up and taken it to the Flames. It's been a fantastic match in tricky conditions. Let's see how this point plays out.
Shepherd, big backhand, blading into the ground and into the path of Wise. It finds its way to Barr. Phillips cuts hard underneath and eventually gets it. She's faking hard. Not a lot opening up downfield. Dignam goes up line. That's Egan Griffiths. Apologies. Barr. Back to Egan Griffiths. Oh! Does she hold on and keep it in? Yes, she does. She's marked by Murray Young. There's a bit of discussion. Did she keep the back foot down while catching it? Disc will be tapped back in. She goes backhand up line. Wise managed to keep it in as well. He's right on the sideline. Backhand. Back to Egan Griffiths and bobbles out of her hands. Maybe a case of disc doesn't lie. Calaviotis picks up. Wants to move things quickly. He finds Mazrai in the centre. Central to Murray Young at the offensive brick mark.
You look for that backhand again.
Takes the easy option to Luca instead. Calaviotis coming open side. Lovely backhand. Finds her target in the end zone. Beats Barr to the open side, does Calaviotis. And DeLuca is ruthless in getting the disc to him. And Perth up 12-11, game to 13.
Wow. Look, we haven't seen DeLuca put that many longish passes today, but when she needs to, she picks her player and picks her moment and takes Perth to 12-11, game to 13. I would not have foreseen this.
I don't think anyone would line up. Calaviotis having an absolute screamer of a match. He's taken 3 goals himself and thrown a couple as well. Having a huge match, stepping up for Perth when they need him, providing that experience and that veteran head in tricky conditions. Now the question is, do Perth stack a line here? Do they feel like they need to, or do they save it for the next downwinder? Looks like they've gone with their regular upwind cohort. Davey with the pulling duties. See what Melbourne can do here. It's all on the line. Melbourne know if they give up an easy short field turn, Perth will have an opportunity to take the match. Barr shoots the big forehand, wanting to get things done quickly. And he'll find Phillips.
Straight into the hands of Phillips.
Barr having a pretty quiet game by his standards this match so far, but saves the best till last. One pass offense doesn't get much prettier than that. And Phillips catches her second goal from that to go with a pair of assists.
Look, I don't know if the Perth defence deep was maybe just napping a tiny bit there, but you don't want to let Phillips get deep of you in a situation like that. And Barr just saying, thank you very much, I will take that, and take it to 12-all.
Universe point. Timeout is called, recognising the drama, recognising the importance, the decisive nature of this next point. Perth near the bottom of the table coming into this match. But geez, what a scalp to take if they can get this one. No other team has yet been able to do so. No team has taken down Melbourne. They're undefeated. They beat Brisbane the other day in the top of the table clash to establish themselves as the front runner, but Perth showing that they can mix it with the best of them when it counts.
Look, it's not to say that Melbourne haven't, been given a run. Canberra as well, in, again, really tricky conditions, gave them a good match. But I think of all the teams, Perth is the one that I think has really consolidated, and you could have, you've seen them gel as a team over the course of this tournament, and you can see it on the scoreline, 12-all.
And some might look back at this game and say, oh, look, it's upwind, downwind, it was blowing a gale, of course it was close. But credit to both teams, they've both scored upwind, and Perth has scored just as many upwind as Melbourne has. It's not like no one was able to score upwind and everyone was just putting it in the downwind end zone. So they've played some great ultimate and they've played some great defence, and they've been ruthless with taking the opportunities when they presented themselves.
Melbourne putting on, as you've mentioned before, Max, a really athletic defensive team here. They're going to use their legs to win this D and then, hopefully for them, score the point.
Pull from Wise. That looks like Perth opting just for their standard downwind line. Not feeling a need to change anything, having faith in their players and their systems. Shepherd will pick up. He's got DeLuca in the dump space. And he's marked by Della. DeLuca finds Calviotis in the centre. He's marked by the big tall Ragaki. Ragaki uses his big frame to take away some easy options. Calviotis has to go inside, out of the hands of Daub. Massive layup from Mazurai, keeps the disc alive. Can he get it done? Backhand to DeLuca. She's in pursuit. Too far beyond her reach. And with that, Perth may have just given up the opportunity for the game.
That was a huge effort from Mazurai to read that. The disc sat up. It was a great crossfield look. Sat up. Mazurai managed to get his body underneath it and then just over DeLuca, who just couldn't get there for the goal.
Maybe just rushed that shot a little bit. And is this another opportunity to take it back? Phillips finds Ragaki. Can he inject some veteran cool into this play? It's clearly needed. Phillips in the centre of the field. Marked by DeLuca. Wise, marked by Mazurai. Winds up the backhand, but can't get it out. Instead finds Ragaki across the front. He'll wind up, launches a huge backhand. You can't give Ragaki that much space. But that'll go to turf, despite Della bid. Wow. I feel like both teams have had opportunities and maybe rushed them. The gravity of the moment gets to even the most veteran of players.
Ragaki was always going to look for that backhand. Shepherd did well to get his body in between the disc and Della then.
And DeLuca goes an inside shot again. Murray Young finds Calviotis in the centre. He's marked by Wise. He shoots long. He's got Mazurai underneath it. Della in the region. It's Shepherd. I apologise. Big ups from Della. He had the better position the whole time and he gets the block. I feel like Perth just pushing a few opportunities now. Taking risks maybe they don't need to take when they're heading downwind.
No, in this 12-12, this universe point, are we just going to see these huge shots keep going up, Max?
Of all the times to play more conservative, surely this is it. Universe point, the game on the line, going downwind. Take the easy option. Wait till the great opportunities present themselves. Don't force something that doesn't need to be forced. Having said that, Melbourne will look to capitalise. Wise doesn't have a lot opening up downfield. Has to look back to his dump, marked by Mazurai. Egan Griffiths, backhand down the line. Finds a player wide open. Comes central to Phillips. DeLuca right on her hip. Phillips will fake hard. Looks back to Wise, marked by Calviotis. Gets the give go immediately up line. She'll have to go to ground. She can't catch that. Too far out in front. What a point. It's 2 turnovers apiece. What a way to end it. High drama here at AUL Stadium as Alex Shepherd launches a backhand downfield. Here's Calviotis underneath
He tries to catch him with his head.
I think he may have. Eager Griffiths now gains possession. Finds Wise back in the centre. You can see the tired legs out there. And Phillips continuing to work for a team, continuing to provide unders.
Such a workhorse. Regaki shoots.
Regaki does what Regaki loves. And he shoots long. Della goes up really early. Gets the second effort over Mazerai. And just like that, Melbourne take the game. 13-12. Thomas Della.
Off a Tom Regaki backhand, which was always going to come. That is a classic way for Melbourne Flames. And that's the attempted catch with your head.
Well, Calaviatis maybe took the advice and used his head a little too literally. Great effort by Della on the first one, and great heads-up play to take the second.
Look, that was excellent D by Mazerai as well. He went for the second one too, got a hand in there, but Della just manages to get both hands onto it, hold on to take the universe point. Goal. Melbourne Flames takes the game.
Gee whiz, what a way to finish, and what a way for Melbourne to hold on to their top spot. Shows that no team in this competition can be complacent at any point. At the very end there, they rely on the Tom connection, Tom Regaki to Tom Della. A huge backhand, showing no fear despite earlier mistakes with exactly the same throw, but first you don't succeed.
And as you mentioned, kudos to Cat Phillips there, just a workhorse in the centre, resetting that play, offering all the time to be there. Fantastic cuts. And kudos to Perth. What a fantastic match this was. Some really exciting play. As Sarah Brereton said at the beginning, playing through the whole roster, and boy was that apparent today.
Oh, it really was. Every single player on their team contributing. Almost every single one contributing on the stat sheet as well. Only Bella C will go home without a goal or assist from the players on the field today. Murray Young got a pair of assists. Tony got a pair of goals. Every single player contributed to that team, and that's really what makes Perth an exciting and fun team to watch.
And that was a fantastic way to end a really exciting match and a really exciting matchup. Well done to both the Melbourne Flames and the Perth Power, turning it on and warming it up.
And with that, we'll leave you there. Do stay tuned for more AUL action, especially as we approach the Grand Final in just a couple of weeks' time. I've been Max Tenstrom. I've been joined by Lena Hall. We'll see you next time.
The Australian Ultimate League is only possible thanks to the generous support of our major partners. Bendigo Private Banking Services. Visit their website, bendigoprivate.com.au, to help you manage all your personal or business banking needs. Discraft. The leaders in flying disc for over 25 years. Their Ultrastar is the preferred disc of all World Championship events and the Australian Ultimate League. And Zone Ultimate Custom Sports Apparel. Check out their new range of custom warm-up jackets and pants at zoneultimate.com.